Today we're down here in Strabo, just outside Portlaoise, in County Laois, on Bernard Ging's farm. Bernard is a participant in the Teagasc Irish Farmers Journal Better Farm programme. We're just going to have a look through his farming system and how he's adopted over the last 2.5 years. Bernard, you might just outline to me where you are at the moment here on the farm, what the farming system is here.
OK, well, we're farming here in Strabo, which is 3 miles outside Portlaoise. We farm 110 hectares, 55 owned and 55 leased, on long and short-term leases. The land is very fragmented. We're running up to 10 blocks at the minute, with the largest block being about 20 hectares. The farming system currently we have 125 continental cross suckler cows, mostly autumn calving, and we run 130 mid-season ewes. Most of the weanlings are sold in the summertime from the autumn herd, and any of the spring herd weanlings are carried over to the following year, so they're sold as maybe 15-16 month bulls and 18 to 20 month heifers for further finishing.
How is that system different to the system you were operating back in 2008 when you joined the programme?
Well, in 2008 we had a way longer calving period, calving say from August to maybe end of April. So we were concentrating more on autumn calvers now, autumn suckling now than the spring, and the spring herd is diminished. Otherwise, all weanlings used to be sold irrespective of weight, age or quality or price. Everything had to go by, say, the middle of November of any year. We only had accommodation for the cows themselves. So that meant we were kind of losing out on the potential of some of the calves were very small and young and to a poor price.
How did you get around the housing problems when you decided to keep on weanlings for that little bit extra time?
Well, with the move from autumn to spring calving, we were kind of had more time at grass. The calves were longer at grass, and also we started to grow kale for outwintering of spring calving cows and spring-born heifer calves.
Bernard, you mentioned there that you're farming about 10 parcels of land and your land is very fragmented. Does that create significant problems from grassland management during the summer months when you're trying to feed cattle on grass?
We'll say we have 4 main parcels and 6 smaller pieces of land, fields I suppose you could call them. Those fields would be mainly taken for silage, and then they'd be just grazed with maybe replacement lambs or dry ewes that are easily moved later in the year. The main blocks then, each main block has a section of grazing and a section of silage. We draw up a plan in the spring, but a lot of times the plan doesn't work. On all the parcels, they have some sort of suppose standoff, you could call it. 2 of the parcels have sheds that you could turn stock in if the weather gets bad in the spring and feed them. Then one parcel has a sort of a hardcore fill area where you can stand off cattle for a few hours, and we have a feed trailer, and the other parcel has a sort of just an open concrete yard. As
part of the Better Farm programme, the 3-year plan is a very important aspect of it. You might just talk me through the key points in the 3-year plan as regards to your farm.
OK, in the 3-year plan, the first major point that the management team pointed out when they came was that there was a huge calving spread, maybe up to 9 or 10 months of the year. That meant that marking the weanlings was made very difficult, management was made very difficult, and it was hard to keep records of vaccines and dosing, and grassland management was difficult as well because you various cows at various stages. So the first thing was to try and tighten that up. That's now down to about 5 months, and hopefully by next year it'll be reduced to about 3.5 months. We had maybe 2 main calving times, which is early in the autumn and in mid-spring, and now we're kind of gone for an October to Christmas type of calving pattern. The other point which came up in the plan was herd health. There seemed to be a lot of health issues on the farm, and the management team were very anxious to try and find out exactly what was going on and to address the problems.
You might just point out to me, Bernard, what you've changed in your sheds to help ventilation and try and reduce pneumonia.
So basically the theory with ventilation in a shed is the air enters the shed by the side over the height of the cattle and exits through the roof. So with that in mind, some we raised some sheets on the roofs of the sheds to allow for air outlet, and also the inlets were created on the sides of the sheds by taking down some side sheeting. Also, floor drafts were a problem where air was coming in underneath doors and gates. So along here we've sealed up the doors and sealed up beneath the doors so that no air can enter the shed, only above the height of the cattle, and enter the shed through the roof.
Has this had a significant impact on the incidence of pneumonia in the herd since doing these?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we only treated one animal last winter for pneumonia. And even when you enter the sheds are always way fresher, and there doesn't be any smell of ammonia from the dung or anything.
Bernard, what other important things would you advise to other farmers to try and keep disease levels to a minimum on farms?
Well, because we have a large amount of stock on the farms, the stocking rate in the sheds during the winter is quite high. So regular cleaning out and disinfecting. Every shed is cleaned out every 10 days during the winter period and disinfected. And then once a year it's power hose and left clean for the summer, so that any organisms that might be lurking are that die off during the warm weather of the summer.
In terms of the financial performance of the farm, you might just run me through how it's changed in the last 2.5 years.
Yes, Nathan. Well, gross margin, which is our target and the level at which we look at, has increased from €500 since we started working with Bernard in 2008 up to about €650 for last year. Well, this is a fairly maybe modest increase for 3 years' work. We are confident maybe that this year that'll hit maybe 700, 750. The problem with this farm is a high proportion of Bernard's land that he's farming is leased land, and that's adding to his fixed costs, which at the end of his working day is leaving a low level of net profit. That's one of the reasons why he's exploring dairying. The 36 hectares around the house here might be more viable to run a dairying enterprise on that, especially when he has got the quota in terms of making more money from the farm.